Hello, this is the Tradesight U.S. Stocks, Futures, and Forex Market Preview and International Economic Data Roadmap for the week beginning Sunday, the 11th of July, 2021, ending Friday, the 16th. It is options expiration week. Hard to believe already. This is not a triple expiration. It's a minor summer expiration, but it is no less the main expiration of July, which tends to mean that we'll maybe get an options unraveling move Wednesday, maybe Thursday, and we'll talk about the rest that's coming as we get into this. So, here's the dollar index daily chart. Hadn't really gone anywhere. You saw the 13 buy signal back in May. That was the low. We came running back up. We hit the static trend line of that move. That's the target from that. I mean, this is literally what our secret tool does, right? Look at that 13. Look at the green line. We hit it. That's the goal, right? That's exactly what you look for. So it worked perfectly. So what do we get from here? It's been kind of flat since we got there. We'll see, but that was the move that was predicted by the tool. Euro dollar index, which is the inverse of the dollar, but didn't get the 13 sell signal when the dollar got the buy signal, is what it is. By the way, everybody wake up Sunday morning and watch Branson fly into outer space. That'll be amazing. Here's the pound dollar. Dead flat since February at this point, bouncing along that red static trend line. No signals either way, no 9-bar setup counts. It doesn't really matter. Here's the Aussie dollar. Same thing. Just look at that. Can't make that up, right? There's a red static trend line that started in December, and we literally just bounced off of it to the pip this week. I mean, that's ridiculous. Talk about the use of that tool. Euro yen. Nothing here. Pound yen. Again, bouncing off another red static trend line. The pound Swiss is like dead flat. Didn't quite get to a 13 sell signal. So it is what it is. All right, let's look at the intra-week action. So 30-minute candles on the euro dollar. High to low for the week is only 110 pips. That's not really tradable. I mean, that's hard. Remember, the euro dollar tends to trade 120, 125 pips a day. You got 110 pips for the week. That's not good. Pound dollar, on the other hand, what do we got here? We got basically 160 pips if you really count it all, and a couple of those were very extreme points. So again, not a very tradable week. Note the 13 buy signal did lead to a little bounce, but only 60 pips or so. Not super exciting. I mean, you could also measure it. If you look at the 13 buy signal back on Wednesday, we bounced a little bit. We came back and retested. We never violated the risk line. And so really then you could say it went to the next move up to that green line, which was the static trend line of that move, and worked for 100 pips, but you had to wait 2 days for it. Whatever. Not very interesting. All right. So I don't see that there's a ton in Forex that we need to get interested in or excited in. Let's get on to the stock market. Here's the ES front month futures contract. This is the daily chart of the broad market futures form. And once again, we hit all-time closing highs, because why not, on the ES. Started to look ugly at a couple points this week, and again, didn't do anything, but be careful, because there are definitely warning signs again in this market. And the big move that's going to be the easy money making move, the one where we're all going to get have a great week or 2 or 3 right out of the gate, and then hopefully see some volatility afterwards, is going to be the downside. I mean, there's just not enough excitement here in this move to the upside. Here's crude oil up $1.69 to 74.63. Gold closes up $8.40. That's kind of mid-range for the last year. S&P cash up 48.73. So again, new closing highs on the S&P. I do want to point out, though, let's go back to the ES real quick before we keep moving on. And let's go to that weekly chart. So here's the situation, right? We have this risk line. We have 13 sell signal on the weekly, right? Last one was back in 2019. So we have a 13 sell signal on the weekly. We hit it the week before, the risk line, the pink line, and now we're above it by a couple of points. Not a big deal. So we'll see, but this is the key area to watch, because if this fails, if that 13 signal becomes a signal, then it's that 3,200 level that becomes the target. So let's just be aware of that. And also, I should point out, if you look at the NASDAQ index, the NASDAQ 100 also has a 13 signal. This one's kind of been violated. Actually, let's look at the futures instead of the cash index, and it's still like, that one's not quite, it's just there right now. The high of, that's kind of funny. The high is 14,883.75 on Friday, and the risk line is 14,885.50. So the high of the week was 1 point under the risk line. So both of them have these signals. Be aware of that. It's interesting. It doesn't mean you know, obviously these signals are right a lot, but they don't have to be right 100% of the time. So from a broad market trading perspective, I would still be looking at the downside. That's what we're seeing here. All right, so the SOX up 55 points, does not quite put it near highs, and we have a 13 sell signal here on the daily. Biotech's up 42.75. This thing's nowhere for the year, literally flat for the year at this point. Russell 2000 48. This thing has been so flat. Look at that. Look at that 13 buy signal back in March and 13 sells. I'm sorry, 13 sell signal back in March and the buy signal in May. Neither one of them led to anything. The VIX down 2.82 after rising during the week. The trend closes at 0.37. That's the lowest trend reading except for one day of the last year. That puts the 10-day moving average at 1.23. Here's the real thing. If I count back 10 days, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, we're about to, I mean, we're not really losing any big numbers. I don't see this thing dropping, the 10-day moving average dropping down to anything that matters for a while. But Friday's volume, this is the thing to remember. S&P up 48, NASDAQ up 103, new closing highs on the S&P, but the volume is only 3.8 billion shares. Now, this is summertime. It's a summer Friday. They're usually slow, untradeable from a real professional trader's perspective, but that's just horrible volume. I mean, literally, if you go back to January, you're talking about I see maybe 3 days of the whole year so far. We're over halfway through the year. 3 days less than that. So that's just not a positive for the markets. The advanced client ratio on Friday, though, plus 22.12. Is that positive when the volume was horrible? Probably not, but we'll see what happens. The advanced client ratio on the NASDAQ, on the New York, plus 1890. Again, one of the best in a while, but is that positive when there's no volume in the market? Hard to say. You like to see that when there's a lot of volume and people are buying stocks. You don't like to see it when it goes the other way. Google closes up 9.49 points, almost near all-time closing highs. Apple up $1.87. I think that's an all-time closing high for Apple. Why not? Netflix up $5.22. Dead in the middle of the range of the last year. Amazon down $12.07. Not much there. Tesla up 14.14. Okay. Facebook gains 4.77. I don't know that we care about that either. Zoom down 93 cents. Goldman Sachs up $12.82. TLT, the 20-year bond ETF, down $2.09. So, you know, finally pulling back after a rise. So interest rates have been dropping. Now that's a one-day pause on that. And then the Dow was up 448 points. Looks like a breakout on the Dow, right? Could be. But remember, there's some weekly signals that are more important than the daily signals. Bitcoin closes right now at 33.5. And by the way, you're about to get a 13 buy signal. If we get one little dip lower on the Bitcoin, you get a buy signal here. We haven't really had a signal on this thing since last year, so that'll be interesting from the seeker's perspective. Put call ratio closing at 0.6. I don't know that really matters. If you look at the intra-week action, let's go to 10-minute candles so we can see the whole week. And remember, it was a short week because Monday was a holiday. So you can see last Friday's close with the 13 sell signal. You got the dumb trading hours with no volume on Monday, even though nobody was here. And then you sold off from that 13 sell signal on Tuesday. So you opened flat, sold off, came back almost all the way late in the day. That was kind of weird. It looked like it might be the start of something exciting. Wednesday, a small gap up, closed at the highs of that period. But then Thursday, the untradeable gap down, right? You just gapped, which sucked. So we're gapped down huge on Thursday. We wiggled for the first 2 hours, nothing happened. We tried to come back. It puts us back in the middle of a range, which is not an interesting area to be. And then Friday, gap up, filled the gap, and closed at the highs of the week. So very, very strange week. NASDAQ side, same deal, basically. So we closed close to the highs of the week anyways on the NASDAQ side. All right, so what does this mean for everything? I don't know, because I keep telling you that the 13 sell signal on the weekly is a bigger deal. Obviously, there's some signs of concern about the global economy right now. There's a lot of concerns about inflation. There's a lot of other things. Market doesn't seem to care because of the money, but you know, we also, and this is what you have to really get your head around, is whatever that all says, we haven't broken. We're not really doing anything positive either. So right now, the negatives are lining up and setting us up. The positives don't exist anymore. So I would be very cautious on the long side. Make sure those trades are quick. I would not hold anything overnight on the long side. It just doesn't really make any sense from that perspective. All right, in terms of the economic data coming out in the week ahead. Let me pull the whole calendar over here in front of you. You get Sunday, Japan's core machinery orders and PPI, China's foreign direct investment, Euro, German WPI, preliminary machine tool orders out of Japan, Euro group meetings out of Europe, 10-year bond auction out of the US, FPI out of New Zealand, BRC retail sales monitor out of the UK, NAB business confidence out of Australia, trade balance out of China. That's Monday. Now we're into Tuesday, German final CPI, Bank of England stability minute, whatever that is, a report, minutes of the last meeting, the statement from the last Bank of England meeting, PPI out of Switzerland overnight, French final CPI, these are all Eastern Standard Times, Euro Ecofin meetings, NFIB small business index here in the US, our CPI number, that's one of our big three for Forex, it would be half size. Monday night going into Tuesday, 30-year bond auction at 1 p.m. here, federal budget balance at 2, visitor arrivals out of New Zealand, Westpac consumer sentiment out of Australia, got a rate announcement out of New Zealand, Japan has revised industrial production, CPI out of the UK along with PPI and RPI at 2 a.m. Eastern time on Wednesday. France is on bank holiday on Wednesday. Housing price index out of the UK, industrial production out of Europe, German 10-year bond auction, manufacturing sales out of Canada, PPI out of here in the US. Canada's got their rate announcement at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Crude oil inventories at 10:30 here in the US. Bank of Canada again with their press conference following their rate announcement. Beige book here in the US at 2 p.m. on Wednesday. Australia's got their MI inflation expectations and unemployment rate. We got the GDP out of China along with their fixed asset investments, industrial production, retail sales, and their unemployment rate. Going into Thursday, tertiary industry activity, I never even understood that one, out of Japan. Unemployment rate out of the UK, Bank of England, credit conditions survey, I don't know. Canada, ADP non-farm employment change, and then here in the US, Philly Fed manufacturing index at 8:30, the weekly initial and continuing jobless claims numbers, Empire State manufacturing index, import-export prices, 9:15 industrial production capacity utilization, CB leading index out of the UK, natty gas out of 10:30. Manufacturing business, New Zealand's manufacturing index at 6:03 p.m. Eastern time, CPI out of New Zealand, Bank of Japan's outlook report, monetary policy statement out of Japan, so there's their rate announcement and their press conference right afterwards. And then to Friday now, Italian trade balance, final CPI out of Europe, trade balance out of Europe, housing starts out of Canada, wholesale inventories out of Canada. Here in the US, retail sales at 8:30, preliminary University of Michigan sentiment at 10, business inventories at 10. And that's it. Tick long-term purchases at 4. That's the close of the market on Friday. There's a lot of data. There's the CPI and stuff here. I wouldn't say anything's better than that. That's a big one, but we're still going to... And I will tell you also, watching the inflation numbers is going to be very important. There's no holidays for a while. I believe the next holiday is Labor Day in September here in the US. So that we have 2 months of straight trading. And I know some of it can be slow because it's the summer, so we'll just see what we get. I wouldn't be excited about Fridays for another month or so, but we'll go from there. But again, options expiration, Friday is going to be really bad. Wednesday maybe the unraveling. We'll see what we get. Charts as usual brought to you by eSignal. If you've not yet taken the trial of our services, feel free to do so. We will help you out for a couple weeks. Have a great trading week.